The situation of the internally displaced is becoming more alarming in the Menwa division. Reasons why the International League of Women's Rights came up recently with an initiative to assist internally displaced women and young mothers. According to the president of the organization, looking at the situation of the internally displaced, they feel the need to help them by building capacities and empower them economically.
The project aims at building the capacities in income-generative activities of 500 women, 350 internally displaced people, and 150 girls mothers in the division. You know that because of the crisis, this group is considered a really vulnerable group. During the gender conflict analysis that we conducted in Cameroon from 2019 to 2020, we were able to assess the degree of vulnerabilities of the internally displaced people. And you know that the Menwa division has the highest numbers of internally displaced people. So because of their vulnerabilities, we need to support them.
Amongst the participants of this launching, both religious leaders and traditional chiefs galvanized personal efforts. The traditional ruler of Foreke village had this to say. It is with so much delight that we welcome this project, which comes to give a pat on our back, adding to the efforts we have been putting forth already in the field. I have personally taken upon myself to provide feeding and accommodation for some IDPs from my pocket. It should be noted that the Menwa division shares boundaries with Lebealem in the southwest region, which encourages easy influx of war-displaced persons from the northwest and southwest regions. One of the participants, a beneficiary and internally displaced, appreciates the fact that the association has decided to teach them how to fish rather than giving them fish always.
I'm here to represent the IDPs in Chad. Yes, I've been in Chad for more than 3 years, and with Cameroon has been assisting us with food items in Chad for about 3 times. So today, they have called us to come and meet again. They have decided that they will not be giving us fish. They will give us food to go to the streets.
Desperate conditions of the internally displaced in the country has prompted most of these humanitarian groups to work tooth and nail to give them hope for better days ahead.
An all-new batch of freshmen have been officially enrolled into the first year of different departments of the Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, Douala. The new students were welcomed during the third matriculation ceremony at the school campus on Friday, November 26, 2021.
HIPMAT has officially admitted students, year 1 students, into the HND programs under 4 different schools: the School of Business and Management Sciences, the School of Engineering and Technology, the School of Education, and the School of Transport and Logistics. HIPMAT has equally admitted officially under the auspices of the University of Bamenda, with the Vice Chancellor of that beautiful university, the University of the Future, here powerfully represented by Professor Vukenkeng, into 2 different schools.
The matriculation ceremony dedicated to the students of HND and Bachelor of Technology programs had as objective to acquaint the students with the fundamental principles and culture of the institution.
Are reminded of their responsibility to the institution and to themselves. So it is a very, very important ceremony.
The ceremony, which was both religious and administrative, was equally an occasion to coach the students on the realities of entrepreneurship and coping in the real world.
What entrepreneurs out there are looking for today, they have soft skills and hard skills that they need to develop.
A message well digested by the matriculants.
It's my great pleasure and great honor for me to be a student of this institution. Within me, I'm very happy. I'm so happy. So after my 2 years of studies as a banking and finance student, I wish to have a company or an enterprise of my own, that I will be the one employing people.
In one voice, the matriculation oath has been taken. The freshmen are officially part of HIPMAT Douala and are well ready for the 2021-2022 school year.
Commemorative activities marking 60 years of the Christian Women Fellowship of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon at the level of Metha Presbytery took place Sunday, November 28 on the campus of the Presbyterian High School, Bengui. The Diamond Jubilee celebration began with a procession to the ceremonial ground by the over 1,000 women drawn from all the zones and congregations that make up the Metha Presbytery in Bengui, chief town of Momo Division in the northwest region of Cameroon.
The rally is celebrating CWF at 60, and CWF at 60 is not just 60, it's not 60 days. It's CWF of spiritual empowerment. It's 60 years of spiritual empowerment. It's 60 years of in-depth study of the Word of God.
Basing his meditation on the theme My Heart Praises God, the chief celebrant of the event called on the women to praise the Lord despite the challenges they've been facing in the course of the ongoing Anglophone crisis, a message that was well applauded by the women.
We're living in very difficult times. The women have mourned, the women have wailed, the women have wept for their husbands, for their children, for their brothers and their sisters. Even in times like this, we continue to trust that God is still on the throne because He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. Celebrating 60 years as a movement of the Presbyterian Church is not bread and gâteau. They've come a long way.
A major innovation in this year's Wali was the coming in of CWF members from Gi and Jikwa Presbyteries to join their sisters of the Metha Presbytery to commemorate the Diamond Jubilee of their movement. How is life back there in Jikwa and Gi? A question we posed to the women from these two enclaved subdivisions.
We did on Jikwa, we did run the movement, it did go fine, it did go smoothly. It be for 2018 when crisis will start. That time we know say it won't be Sunday, so if you come out, can't reach right from Bengui, how we don't come today. But by the grace of God, God don't guide we, God don't protect we. We enter bush, come out, climb for hills and do all kind of. But today God don't make them. We don't come up on Jikwa camp for year. We can celebrate our 60th anniversary.
Several socio-religious activities were carried out to grease the day, with the main one being the raising of funds for the construction of the National Secretariat of the CWF. There was also singing, drama, fashion parade and decoration of some outstanding members who have contributed to the growth of the movement in the Metha Presbytery.
The Diamond Jubilee of the Christian Women Fellowship CWF of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. Celebrations in Bamenda took place at the Presbyterian Church in Ngomogam, November 28, 2021, bringing thousands of CWF women from Mezam, Bafut, Santa Balituba, Boyo, and Batibo. The event celebrated on the theme, My Heart Praises the Lord, Luke 1, verses 46. Amidst College of Pastors, the officiating priest, the Reverend Che Hosea Ambe, reading from Luke 1 verses 46 to 47, urged the women of the PCC to glorify God as living witnesses, celebrate with a vision focused to expand, putting God in all conditions and make sure they keep praising God like many and keep their candle burning high, celebrating God unconditionally. Pastor Mrs. Ekendi Saleh Mary, articulating the PCC moderator's message.
It is time to look back, consolidate the best, relinquish the past, and relaunch into the future with renewed zeal for greater evangelization.
Pastor Mrs. Mary Ekendi Saleh, National Secretary for Women's Works Department, satisfied with the women's turnout and excellent they unfolded the event, said they had every reason to celebrate God despite the challenging time.
We are celebrating even during these challenging times. Many people have asked, why are you people celebrating? What are you celebrating? At a time when many have died and many are still dying. And we said, no, we have to celebrate, because if we don't celebrate God, then people will start celebrating demons.
In a Diamond Jubilee fundraising, the women showed commitment towards the realization of their national secretariat by joining their guests to support the project with more zeal in evangelization.
Our mothers taught us how to keep the home clean. Our mothers taught us how to care for the house. Our mothers taught us how to cook. And our mothers also taught us how to interact in the society where we are.
A day will be very grateful for God Almighty. So we for reach 60 years, as you know, now age of maturity. And with how we thank God, I say may He increase all women to get that desire to serve God in truth and in spirit. May not only be the outer celebration we'll get at today, but rather more grow inside we, so that we will be glorify God in action and in truth.
The CWF Women Movement, which started in Bafut in the Northwest region, today counts more than 46,000 members at home and abroad. Musical display, award of certificates of recognition, and a longer dance grace the Diamond Jubilee.
Through this oath-taking, these fresh students from the Higher Institution of Business Management and Technology Himat Boya have pledged their commitment to abide to the rules and regulations of the Higher Institution of Learning. This was during the 11th matriculation ceremony that held at the amphitheater of Himat Boya Campus B. Addressing the students, the rector of Himat, Professor Ibrahim Tala Kashim, reminded the fresh students on the importance of the matriculation ritual and the need for them to be ambassadors of the institution.
It's an engagement, a solemn engagement that the student will abide by the rules and regulations of the institution, and that the student should work hard and be of good moral behavior.
Among those matriculating this Saturday, November 27 are HND Fresh students, the 8th batch of Tech students, and the 1st batch of BSc students, mentored by the universities of Boya and Bamenda.
I'm equally pleased to say that we have representatives of the two mentor universities, that is the University of Bamenda and the University of Boya. University of Bamenda mentors us for the PTech program under 4 different schools: the School of Business Management Sciences, the School of Engineering and Technology.
We recently signed a cooperation agreement to mentor for the programs. This is a university institute with a difference. This emphasis on professionalization and skills acquisition.
In his academic discourse caption, addressing the challenge of unemployment through professionalism and skills development, the guest speaker, Achaleke Christain Leke, encouraged these fresh students to believe in their innate skills to positively influence their future.
Skills can transform your life. He did that to me. But at the same time, skills cannot just transform your life if you do not work on your moral and ethical values.
The matriculation ceremony was equally attended by the representative from the Mentor University of Bamenda, Professor Julius Victor Cho, who joined his voice to that of the previous speakers to call on the fresh students to be disciplined, assiduous, and creative.
The 43-year-old man who was murdered by men of the underworld in Manja was commonly called Uncle and was an internally displaced person from Bali, northwest region of Cameroon. Before his ordeal, who was a commercial bike rider, had been living in the Manja neighborhood for 6 months after fleeing the armed conflict in the northwest, struggling now for survival in Bagante, west region of Cameroon, before meeting his demise. The victim had gone missing for 4 days before he was found dead. After murdering him, the criminals made away with his motorbike, abandoning his corpse in this bush not far from College Thomas Nutong, which was only discovered 4 days after he went missing in a state of decomposition by a man returning from his farm that fateful day. His ID card was also found in the area, which made it easy for law enforcement officers who reported to the scene after being alerted by the inhabitants. His ID card was found around the area, which made it easy for identification by law enforcement officers in the area who reported to the scene after being alerted by the inhabitants. An investigation has been launched to track the perpetrators who are still at large.
A fire incident occurred in Kutaba, Nun Division in the West Region of Cameroon yesterday, November 29, leaving some structures in complete ruins. Information gathered said the fire outbreak originated from fuel owned by a local trader. A passerby struck a match beside a container of fuel which unfortunately caught fire. Several shops in the market in Kutaba were completely razed by the fire. The local population tried all they could to put the fire under control, while hoping that the firefighting unit would answer present to help out. Sadly, the absence of the firefighting team to prevent the fire from spreading led to an increased damage as several houses and other structures got consumed. The firefighting team had to leave from Bafoussam, but due to the poor state of road, they were not able to arrive at the scene on time. They only got there at night when the fire had already caused enormous damage. No human casualties were recorded. However, huge material damages were
This is what is left of Form 1 in Government Bilingual High School, Ekondo Titi, where 3 students and a teacher were shot dead during a French class on the 24th of November 2021 with books stained with blood and abandoned.
Boys enter, she ran, thinking that she can give an access to the window, through the window. When she realized that she is blocked, she sat here. And the guys came and shot her. Jesus Christ.
Representing the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. John Guti, is Chief Gerard Fricks Nasako, who walked around the campus with the principal of the school to see the reality on the ground so as to give feedback to the Cameroon Prime Minister.
Here to present the heartfelt sympathy of the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti, entire government of Cameroon, for following the death imposed on these 4 children and 1 teacher. In fact, as we have seen, it's a very hideous, heinous, horrendous crime committed, by these individuals who instill terror in the population.
In the school campus, uniform could be spotted on the ground thrown by students who do not want it to be identified by the attackers as they all ran out of school for their safety.
In fact, I have a bleeding heart, and this is the moment they must stop. The moment they must stop. What crime did these children commit to deserve this kind of thing? Look at our children were removing their school uniforms, throwing them away, not to be identified as students. This is madness. And I just want to tell them this, that I think they should know one thing. The cry and the blood of these children has touched heaven.
Meanwhile, sources say 4 other students were seriously wounded and they are responding positively to treatment at the Limbe Regional Hospital. In one voice, the elite of Jan Division in general and Ekondo Titi in particular call on parents to continue send their children to school for an educative and a better Cameroon.
It is the maiden edition of the Budget Orientation Meeting of Idina Council holding at the Bankingli Village Community Hall. The meeting is bringing together stakeholders from the 4 corners of Idina municipality to present their aspiration to the council for it to be taken into consideration during the upcoming budgetary session. Addressing the population, the first Deputy Mayor of Idina Council, Mr. Alexandra Penda, called on all participants to come up with project proposals that will meet the needs of the population and more.
You can bear with me clearly that each and all our sundries have participated in their own little way or the other for the betterment of the West Coast municipality. So that is why we deem it necessary, and with provision of the law, that we should call a session like this before the budgetary session come the 10th of December 2021.
On his part, the regional coordinator for the National Community Driven Development Fund, PNDP, Mr. Alexandra Tangana, saluted the performance of Idina Council vis-a-vis project sponsored by PNDP in Idina municipality.
We will continue our partnership around 3 projects. The first is the construction of the motor park at Idina. The second is the construction of lock-up stores around the motor park. That's to have a commercial, how can I call it, a commercial center around the motor park. The economy should be booming around the motor park. And the third project, which has to do with, the problem of it now is sanitation, hygiene and sanitation. So the third project is the construction of toilet.
It is worth noting that the Budget Orientation Forum is not a new concept in the management of council affairs, as it is inscribed in the decentralization laws. Following instruction and recommendation from the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, the holding of Budget Orientation meeting for council is obligatory for the council to mitigate action toward the development of the municipality with all stakeholders.
Where is it? Where is it?
Since Tuesday, circulation has somewhat been perturbed in the nation's economic capital, Douala, following the presence of the strong political man, Professor Maurice Kamto, president of the Cameroon's Renaissance Movement, CRM. For the first time officially being seen in public after his release from house arrest, Kamto begins his debut tour in Douala, where he visited the 57 militants of his party still in detention at the Douala Nouvelle Central Prison. After which, a mammal crowd, including sympathizers, militants, supporters and allies, converged in a part of the city to be addressed by their president thus.
To cut short a very long story, our motto is peaceful change through the ballot box. Peaceful change through the ballot box. This is our choice. This is our ideology. Basically, we stand by that. We have got change. But we don't want fight, but we do not fear fight. We do not fear fight. If they impose fight on us, then we will fight.
He also assured that his party will only seek for change in Cameroon through peaceful means and through the ballot box. However, towards the end of the professor's speech, he also revealed his intentions of launching his book, which had earlier been launched in Yaoundé, but this will be interrupted as Kamto has once more been placed under house arrest by state authorities. Earlier today, a number of policemen could be found dispatched outside the Valier des Princes Hotel, where the CRM president Maurice Kamto has been lodging, with the aim of escorting Kamto back to Yaoundé as he ends his stay in Douala. The situation at press time is receiving widespread comments, notably that of a fellow political figure, Kawala Edith, leader of the Cameroon People's Party, CPP, who condemns the fact that Maurice Kamto has been held in Douala against his will, insinuating a scenario of human rights violation by state authorities.
Some women in Idinao municipality have benefited from business inputs, cassava mills, and fish dryers to empower them economically. The beneficiaries, who are mostly survivors and victims of gender-based violence, were carefully selected by the project team of Women in Action Against Gender-Based Violence in partnership with United Nations Women as well as other partners. Addressing beneficiaries, the livelihood officer for WAC called on the women not to be afraid to point out cases of gender-based violence within their communities and report them to appropriate authorities.
There is also a protection committee which we have set up in the 5 different localities in the subdivision. Their job is to make sure that they handle cases of gender-based violence at their level and refer accordingly those other cases they cannot handle. And we have created some spaces, we call it safe spaces within the community, where victims of gender-based violence can actually run to and feel safe to talk to express their mind and to seek solutions to their problems.
The handing over of the economic packages coincided with the launching of a 16-day activism to fight against gender-based violence on women and the girl child. The project also seeks to address specific needs of the women by empowering them to be able to stand up on their own, educate their children, and be self-reliant. On behalf of her common initiative group, Echo Suzanne Ugwe promised to put into good use the cassava meal donated to her association.
I want to thank the work, the serve and the young women for these wonderful things that they have given to us, for this wonderful machine, because we have been suffering, carrying cassava from one place to the other to go and grind. I will do my best to take good care of this machine so that it will last for long.
The third phase of the project envisages handing over of legal documents such as birth certificates and ID cards to some 17 women.
At the third stage of this program, we are going to hand over legal documents to some of those women. We identify some within the communities who do not even have birth certificates. They do not have identification papers. So the project management unit, together with their partners, UN Women and SELF, decided to accompany these women to establish those certificates.
The theme for this year's 16 days of activism to fight against gender-based violence is Paint the World Orange, as chosen by Antonio Guterres, United Nations Secretary General. The first of its kind since the creation of the Bonaberry campus, the Catholic University Institute of Boya today, December 3, 2021, officially welcomed its freshmen and swore the oath of professional code of ethics for the sophomore year students of the institution.
For the students, it is important to inform them that finally the Catholic University Institute of Boya has its own permanent campus in Douala, Bonaberry, Douala. So all the hassles and all the problems which they encountered at the Bonamus study, make sure that those problems, those hassles do not exist here. And partly because of this reason that we have decided to provide 30-seater bus for the students on the Douala campus.
While addressing the students during the convocation ceremony, the president of CUIB called on them to uphold the moral standards of the institution, emphasizing on the technical innovations it has made so far.
The admission of this batch came along with the COVID-19, which made it difficult for us to have on-site and classes 100%. So this batch has to do with online teaching and on-site teaching. See, what we have to do is to ensure that the learning and teaching environment is good. We have to intensify industrial visits.
The matriculation ceremony, which was both religious and administrative, was graced with the presence of a guest speaker, a professor emeritus, who enlightened the students on major steps towards success.
Of the university in terms of the value, because it is the character formation that determines the degree of quality that they would have acquired coming to this university, and their parents paying fees and paying becoming a position dedicated to that.
A message well received by the students.
It's been a good day and I feel very fulfilled and very happy to belong to this school. And the guest speaker spoke so well about what it means to be a student and to the aim of the school, how we are going to achieve that. So she encouraged us to be honest, she encouraged us to be diligent in our studies, she encouraged us to be courageous.
With the swearing of the convocation oaths and the signing of the matriculation register, all students present at the ceremony are thus admitted officially into their various areas of specialization.